Welcome back, everybody. It is week 15 of the ISL podcast review, where we take a look at all things ISL. Last week gave us the single largest median upset in the entire season, 0.51 victory by Royal Potato over underwhelming Super Mega Monsters. So make sure you tune in this week, get your fair share of the over $4,000 prize for going perfect 16-0. No one has done it yet this season, and a total of the $40,000 prize is available up for grabs in total of season. So make sure that you're checking in with systems at isl.bet and at kick.com/systems on Wednesday evenings, whenever this comes on for you. Additionally, make sure that you're liking and subscribing to this YouTube page, where we're going to continue to bring you recaps and previews and ramp up the season and the information for Season 2 as we get ISL Season 2 underway. Last week, like I said, was a big one. If you take a look at the playoffs, we had some big movers. We had Sweet Bonanza fall out of the playoff race with their loss. They're now in the hunt, one game behind Mental. Hoarders moved into the playoffs with their win over Mental. Mental also fell out. Otherwise, the ASC looks the same, with Space Wars, Grand Heist, Bloodsuckers, and Boom Boom Gold in first, and Kodiak, Kingdom, Hoarders, Rich Raptors in the wild card spots. In the hunt, Mental, Sweet Bonanza, and Silverback Multiplier Mountain need big wins week. In the ISC, Hip Hop Hop and Sloth Tumble still leading the way at 11-3, with Hip Hop Hop having the tiebreaker, beating Sloth Tumble. Gates of Olympus and Hammer Vulcan falling a little bit behind. Gates of Olympus separating themselves from Wild Coyote, though. They're a 2-game lead. They're pretty much locked to win their division. Hammer Vulcan, on the other hand, with a big win last week, took control of the division. They now have a 1-game lead, and they have the tiebreaker over Sweet Rush with the better conference record at 8-6. Chasing in the wild cards are Crystal's Digger, a surprising wild card at 9-5. Sheep Gone Wild as well. They both seem pretty secure, as Wild Coyote holds that last spot at 7-7. That's where the drama starts in the ISC. Wild Coyote with 7-7. They win because of the tiebreakers. They have the best conference record at 6-4, whereas Dragonfall, Sweet Rush, and Cat Clans are all 5-5 in the conference and still chasing them down. But obviously the games are what's most important.
Game one, we've got Dr. Rock versus Penny Pelicans here to break them down with me. The systems doctor, the expert on Dr. Rock's systems here. So I think this is a really good time to bring him in. First matchup, 5-9 Dr. Rock. They have a -10 net rating, a 0.48 median. Penny Pelican 4-10, a -12 net rating, a 0.36 median. Both teams out of the playoff race. Dr. Rock kind of played itself out last week with Choco Reels. What do you think about this one? This one's got a couple fan favorites in there.
Yeah, look, they look pretty even stats across the board, to be honest. -12, -10 net rating, basically a 0.1 X median difference. And the stat jumps out the most is those bonuses under a quarter of the buyback, so under 0.25 of the buyback. 21% Dr. Rock this season, 37% Penny Pelican. That's a solid enough discrepancy where Dr. Rock could theoretically peel off a win or so if the Penny fails, which it pretty much did against Sweet Rush. It won the first game last week, and then it got basically 3 in a row run on it, and didn't really put up much of a fight, to be honest. Make a case either side. I'll definitely be on the doctor, of course, hoping for the big doctor hit, but this is a relatively close matchup.
Yeah, might break up that 16-0 bracket right away, regardless of who wins, just because it's got 2 fan favorites.
Yeah, going to be split. There's going to be a lot of people split on this matchup.
Absolutely. Same with this one, next one, number 2. This one does have playoff implications. We've got game number 2, Sweet Bonanza and Sloth Tumble. Sweet Bonanza is 8-6, a +4 net rating, a 0.65 median. Sloth Tumble is 11-3, +13 net rating, a 0.58 median. I know Sweet Bonanza played themselves out of a playoff spot last week with their loss to Space Wars, where Sloth Tumble stayed on their roll against Gates in a tough 5-game matchup. Do you think the Sloth Tumble kind of continues their role? The median favors Sweet Bonanza in this one.
Yeah, look, it's statistically, you'd look at it and go, a lot. The spread of games, a quarter of the buy, half the buy, 3/4 of the buy, are literally nearly identical. The wins and losses are quite dominated by Sloth Tumble, but then the median X is obviously Sweet Bonanza ahead. So very, very similar to game 1, where both games line up pretty well against each other. I've been a fan of Sloth Tumble all year. Their only 3 losses have come from Hip Hop Hop, Space Wars, and Kodiak Kingdom, which I think are all hitting their divisions. So the only time Sloth Tumble's lost this year is to a a guaranteed playoff team, if not a winning divisional team. So their record overall is very, very good. I want to give more insight, but you really can't when teams stack up so close. It's about feel. Sweet Bonanzas, they've got to decide here to win today because they've got Cabin Crashers next week at Mental. They could win both those, but they lose this week. They're going to fall further behind after that Space Wars loss. Feel like it's a must win for Sweet Bonanza, which it is, whereas for Sloth Tumble, it's not. They're 3 games ahead of Dragonfall. They've basically won the division already. So, yeah, should be a fun matchup.
Yeah, Sloth Tumble is battling with Hip Hop Pop for the number 1 seed, and that loss last week, Hip Hop Pop's win last week was pretty big. Whereas Sweet Bonanza fell out. They're at 8-6 now. They were 1 game behind that huge group at 9-5 in the ASC with Kodiak Kingdom, Hoarders, Rich Raptors, and Mental. So they need to win this game. Like you said, they've got run out of time for a big one in Sweet Bonanza. Game number 3, 2 more playoff hopefuls: Silverback, Multiplier Mountain, and Crystal's Digger. Silverback is 7-7, a +6 net rating, a 0.54 median. They have lost 2 in a row. Crystal's Digger 9-5, a +15 net rating, 0.67 median X. They have lost 4 in a row after having only lost 1 of the first 11. This is just an absolute fall from grace. Crystal's Digger is still safe in terms of the playoff race. They're 9-5. They're 2 games ahead of Wild Coyote, who is holding the last wild card spot in the ISC. So they're getting in, but are they going to right the ship, or do you think Silverback maybe continues to pound on Crystal here late season?
Yeah, look, 4 in a row is pretty mental, and both games don't really rip that much. Now, the problem here, though, is that Silverback's got a lot of games in. They might not have it under 0.25, but they've got nearly half their games under 0.52. So, and with the Crystal Digger stagger, it basically means Crystal Digger gets half their money back every bonus minimum. So this becomes, well, basically, instead of being an even matchup, Crystal Diggers basically, if this goes to 4 games, they're getting 2 games for free. Just like based on the odds, because half of Silverback Mountain's games are below the scatter money, effectively Crystal Digger. So although this slump's pretty real for Crystal Digger, I do think it bounces back against Silverback this week, who have had a couple of bad losses in a row.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good look. That spread is a good one to look at against Crystal Digger. Is how many times are they under that 0.52? Because it's tough to beat them when you're not even hitting their minimum. And Crystal Digger has an easy run home, Silverback, Retro, and Razor. So, like I said, their playoff position isn't in any doubt. But it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of get things going against the slots that looks like they should beat on paper. Next up, game number 4, Bloodsuckers versus Dragonfall. Bloodsuckers with a big win last week to get themselves into the playoffs. They're 9-5, a +8 net rating, a 0.56 median X. Whereas Dragonfall is in that battle over in the ISC, 7-7, a 0.36 median, a even net rating. They lost last week to Wild Coyote, which, like I said, put them sort of in the back seat looking for that playoff spot in the ISC. I think Bloodsuckers wins this one easily. I think they're a little bit underrated, and I think Dragonfall is very underrated, but I could be wrong. Talk to me here.
I mean, I'm very, very happy to be with Bloodsuckers. Did you say Dragonfall's underrated, you think?
I mean, I think so. Oh no, Dragonfall's overrated. I think Bloodsuckers.
Oh, that's better. I was just taking a double take there. Yeah, the 7-7 record is a very lucky record for Dragonfall. The matchup's not good. Half the buys, Dragonfall under 0.25, only 20% for Bloodsuckers. And that's where this game will be won and lost. Even if Dragonfall could put a good number here or there, they're going to be handing just far too many for Bloodsuckers. And this is an absolute must-win, by the way, for Bloodsuckers, because they finished the season in that jammed-up division against Space Wars, who just keeps winning, and Kodiak Kingdom. So not the easiest run home, whereas other opponents may have an easier run home. We'll check soon. So they should get the job done pretty easily, but this is an absolute must-win if they want to win the division.
That's huge. I mean, yeah, because they're only at that 9-5, and like I said, theirs currently Mental is 9-5, and they're out of the playoffs. whereas Bloodsuckers is in a division winning spot because they're in the north, but they've got Hoarders and Sweet Bonanza right behind them. So they can't afford to lose. They're so bunched up. Whereas on the other side, Dragonfall, also same thing. Dragonfall, Wild Coyote is currently in the last spot based on tiebreakers. If you can believe that, Wild Coyote has the current wild card. They're 7-7, and then out in the hunt, but out on tie breaks are Dragonfall, Sweet Rush, and Cat Clans right now. So this is a big one. The loser here is going to really put themselves in a tough spot from here on out.
Sure.
Game number 5, Cabin Crashers and Wild Coyote. Cabin Crashers, really not much to say here. They did get that big sweep against Royal Potato. They're 1-13 though, a -22 net rating, a 0.2 median. Whereas Wild Coyote is 7-7. We just talked about their playoff chances, a -2 net rating, but a pretty respectable 0.53 median. They've been on and off all season, no big runs or losses. They've got a decent run home. Cabin Crashers, Sloth, Tumble, and Royal Potato. I think they pull this one out pretty easily. You think any differently on that?
No, not really. Cabin Crashers had their time in the sun against Royal Potato, made sure they weren't the first team ever to go 0-17, so that was a good record to get off their back. Wild Coyote, although not overly consistent, all the stats got them covered pretty comfortably. So yeah, you people be on Wild Coyote.
Absolutely. And then we've got game number 6, Rise of Atlantis, which has been a surprisingly high-paying slot. Against Royal Potato, Rise of Atlantis is 5-9, a -10 net rating, a 0.48 median X. And Royal Potato, the Dragon Slayer, a 5-9 record, a -10 rating, but 0.17 median. But don't tell that to Super Mega Monsters, who lost in a massive upset, the biggest one by statistics, with a 0.51 median difference last week. I think Rise of Atlantis is the type of slot that puts in enough sort of the medium type of hits. Those games under 0.52, they're only at 54%. So, and the games over 0.75, they're at 43%. So I think they win this one. But Royal Potato has shown they can do it against anyone. They've beaten Gates, Sheep Gone Wild, and Super Mega Monsters this year. Do you think they pull the magic out of the hat again against Rise of Atlantis?
I mean, anything's possible, but Rise of Atlantis, it's just very hard to pick Royal Potato. They're one of the, like I said, I'm just having a look here at Cabin Crashers. Under 0.25 now, under 0.55. We all agree Cabin Crashers is pretty bad. Probably the worst slot in the ISL. They average under 0.25, just over 50, just over half the time, 55%. Royal Potato, even worse, 63% of their buys. So that's 2 out of every 3 buys on Royal Potato is under 0.25. And when you have that, you're nearly drawing dead to pretty much any slot. Rise of Atlantis, although it's not really great on paper, this is more about who's the better of the worst teams. And yeah, it's going to struggle. You won't find me this season tipping Royal Potato to win anywhere, even though it's a very exciting game once you get past level 3.
No, fair enough. Yep, that's about how I think everyone sees it. So we'll see how it goes, though. Game number 7 is Rich Raptors versus Sheep Gone Wild. A little more excitement in terms of how these slots are performing and where they're at. Both have a 9-5 record. Rich Raptors is a +9 net rating. Sheep Gone Wild a +4 net rating. Rich Raptors a 0.66 median. Sheep Gone Wild a 0.57 median. Their pluses and minuses look really good. The only sort of difference is Sheep Gone Wild goes under a little bit more, and Rich Raptors goes over 0.75 a little bit more. So I think just based on those numbers, Rich Raptors has a slight edge. But man, this one's one of those coin tosses that's really gonna, if we get to this point, almost to the halfway point, with a lot of undefeateds, I think this will start to divide them. Who are you going with this on this one?
I mean, I will be going Rich Raptors. I think looking at it in a vacuum, you go this game, who's the better team? Obviously, Rich Raptors is the better team. Stats don't really say that. Same record, net rating +5, Rich Raptors, median X slightly bigger, Rich Raptors under 0.1, by the way. And then the breakdown of the game returns 0.25, 0.52, 0.75. Relatively even. They're basically swapping games. So statistically speaking, they're kind of close, but I'll definitely be going Rich Raptors. I don't know, I just feel like it's a more consistent, better chance of winning a best-of-5 slot.
Interesting thing maybe about the programming on the dates of Rich Raptors. Every time they've lost, they lost 2 in a row, and then they went on to go and break the streak. They've never lost more than 2 in a row.
Pattern.
They've never
That's a
lost less
pattern.
than 2 in a row.
Absolutely.
So just
Yeah.
maybe something to take a look at. We'll see. I mean, I know everyone's doing their conspiracy theories, so just add that one to the list. Game number 8, Mental versus Bonanza Billian. Mental really needs a win after losing to its stable mate Hoarders last week and coming off a sweep against Sloth Tumble the week before that. They're 9-5, a +2 net rating, a 0.52 median. Bonanza Billian, on the other hand, they had a little run there in the middle of the season, but they're 3-11, a -15 net rating, a 0.39 median. It's got that potential. You see those 100Xs, and Mental's been a little bit disappointing the last couple weeks, but I just can't. I just can't pick Bonanza Billion to pull the upset here. Do you think you got it in you?
Well, no. If you look at the games under 0.25, you'll see the stats are 0%, same as Crystal Digger, because you get that unwritten bonus guarantee on Mental. Bonanza Billion, 1 in 3 games go under 0.25, meaning when this game starts, Bonanza Billion's already at basically a 1-0 handicap, just again based on the stats. Now the interesting part is under half the buy, the games actually start to even up. Although 63% is a big number for Bonanza Billions, Mental's at 50%. That is a huge number for a playoff contender. I actually haven't compared it, but if I go through the playoff contenders and look at what their games are so far under 0.5, I'll be shocked if anything's near 50. I mean, on Sheep Gone Wild's 45, Ridge Raptors 36. What am I looking at here? Wild Coyote's a fringe team. Bloodsuckers 41. Silverback. Oh, Silverback's at 46. That's interesting. 40% Sweet Bonanza, 46. Sloth Tumble. All right, it wasn't as outrageous as I first thought. But yeah, 50%'s quite a large under half the buybacks, and that evens it out with Bonanza Billion. But yeah, like you said, all the stats say Mental. Yeah, I thought Bonanza Billions would make a run sometime this season, because they've been pretty cold for the entire season, to be honest. Highest win of 3.2 is that's as bad as it comes. In fact, that is just having a look here, the second worst all season, as in the highest single X. So yeah, I don't think enough power to beat Mental.
Yep, I agree. Maybe Mental turns it around. They have Rise of Atlantis and Sweet Bonanza. Sweet Bonanza that last week will be a huge playoff matchup. So they've got it, like you said, they don't have many to give back, so they can't really afford to lose this one.
Yeah, sure.
Game number 9, King Kobe and Razor returns. King Kobe, the playoff dream kind of ended in an epic match against Grand Heist last week. They're 6-8, a -1 net rating, a 0.58 median. Razor returns also 6-8, a -4 net rating, a 0.33 median. They are actually still on the very outskirts of the playoff race because they're over in the ISC. This one is interesting. It's one of those where you think it's more of a coin flip than the stats say that it is. So I think I'm going King Kobe based on the stats. But what do you think? You think maybe Razor Return sort of defies those again here?
Yeah, look, King Kobe, yeah, great form. If it won last week, it would have made this matchup just gigantic. Unfortunately, yeah, it looks like they're out of the mix now. But Razor returns King Kobe. Razor returns. I mean, I'd love to pick it, but it's such a hard game to pick. They do stack up pretty well though. There's not a big discrepancy in those different game categories. The median X is the big one, of course, 0.58 versus 0.33. I'd like to see a Razor win, but I'm going to try and get that perfect bracket like everybody else. So I think even with the same records and the same net ratings, I do feel more confident in King Kobe's rips being a little better than Razor Returns rips.
Yep, and I think this might be one where, based on those records, a lot of the public is picking Razor Returns just because, like you mentioned, it's a little bit more fun to kind of watch, and it's a little bit more popular. And so I think King Kobe pick here could be one that nets you some points. I was hoping for that last week with Grand Heist, just missed. Speak of the devil, I think this is the matchup of the week in my mind. Game number 10 is a Grand Heist and Hip Hop Pop. So we've got 10-4 Grand Heist, +5 net rating, a 0.71 median X, whereas Hip Hop Pop 11-3, a +15 net rating, a 0.67 median. This is a battle of two heavyweights, two slots that are both fighting for the #1 seed. Hip Hop Pop currently holds it in a tiebreak over Sloth Tumble, and Grand Heist is 1 game behind Space Wars. So this is a very potential Super Bowl matchup. What do you think? How do you think this one shakes up here in week 15?
Yeah, look, Grand Heist, a little bit disappointing of late. So 4 of the last, was it? The last 4 games, 2 sweeps, and then 2 game 5 victories over Sweet Rush and King Kobe, both teams fringe playoff teams, statistically speaking. Hip Hop Pop, I mean, if you look at the win against Razor Returns last week, 3-1, and previously they got taken to 5 games by Choco Reels, Penny Pelican, Big Bamboo, and then also lost to King Kobe 3-0. And there was a Boom Boom Gold 3-1 there. The only scalp really there was the 3-0 drubbing at Crystal Digger, which was very impressive, I might add. I feel like Hip Hop Pop is I feel like it's being slightly overrated. Again, I think I might have said this last week. I think it's being slightly overrated. It's got a very good set of stats. Its net rating's obviously great. 36 wins, 21 losses. That looks amazing. Median X top 10 in the league, maybe even top 5. I haven't checked the list. The Grand Heist Median X is actually more. So stats wise, that Grand Heist is favorite. I'm going to be going with Grand Heist. I feel very, very solidly confident that Grand Heist can beat Hip Hop Pop this week, even though this will literally divide the viewers. And Hip Hop Pop does have the better record this year. Yeah, every other stat line, everything is basically identical. If you look at the screen right now, I'm pretty sure they're going to be up there. You can see everything. They're basically mirror imaging. The net rating's the only difference. Hip Hop Pop has won 10 more games than Grand Heist, which I feel like is a little deceptive because when Grand Heist has lost, it's been destroyed. Whereas when Hip Hop Pops had a lot more game 4 or 5s. So yeah, look, all that jargon basically means I'm landing on Grand Heist with a little bit of confidence in this coin flip game.
All right, I like it. And you know me, I'm a hip hop pop guy, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna ride them till the end. I think they are one of the few slots that have the potential to give you a good median that also have a high of something like a 23.13 that they put up this year, and I think that will matter when the numbers get this close. I think that actual blowout potential might just be the difference, but we'll see. We get to play it out. I think that's the matchup of the week, though, in my personal opinion.
Yep. Sweet.
Game number 11, Big Bamboo versus Hammer of Vulcan. Another big one. Big Bamboo 6-8, -8 net rating, a 0.48 median. Hammer of Vulcan 8-6, +5 net rating, a really impressive 0.71 net rating. They were very, very uneven at the beginning of the season, but they've kind of turned it on since week 9. They beat Silverback, Retro Tapes, Razor Returns, Grand Heist, and Crystals Diggers with a loss to Rich Raptors mixed in. 2 big matchups after this week with Sheep Gone Wild and Hip Hop Pop. Hammer Vulcan is on the fringe of that playoff race. They currently are holding the ISC South slot 8-6, 1 game ahead of Sweet Rush, so they need to keep winning. I think they get the win here under pressure. Like I said, they're another one of my favorites. I think the numbers have been doing them dirty. I had them last week against Crystals Digger. I had them 2 weeks ago against Grand Heist, and I'm going to keep rolling with them this week against Big Bamboo. What about you?
Yeah, they're pretty consistent. Hammer of Vulcan. They tick all the boxes in pretty much every category now got in front of me, even though I like to pick Big Bamboo. I did actually pick it last week on Silverback Mountain there. But yeah, I'm with you. I'll go with Hammer of Vulcan. Must win here. So Hammer of Vulcan, 1 game ahead of Sweet Rush. One of those teams are going to make the playoffs. They'll be the lowest seeded division winner, but one of those teams will make the playoffs. If Hammer of Vulcan loses here, they're 8-6. Sweet Rush has Choco Reels this week. We're going to talk about that shortly. That's going to be that should be a free win to them, basically. And then Hammer of Vulcan and Sweet Rush are alternate opponents for the last 2 weeks. So Hammer of Vulcan has Sheep Gone Wild and Hip Hop Pop, and I believe Sweet Rush has Hip Hop Pop and Sheep Gone Wild. So if this week goes as planned, Hammer of Vulcan making a late run, they'll basically control their destiny. Sweet Rush, they're going to have the same opponent. So this is in a way is a must win. I don't know who has a tiebreaker. I don't know if you got that information on you. Hammer of Vulcan, Sweet Rush. Just say Hammer of Vulcan loses to Big Bamboo today on Wednesday, and Sweet Rush beats Choco Reels like we'll all imagine it will. Who would have the tiebreak there of
Yeah,
those teams?
it would be Hammer Vulcan. It would be based on, they split the head to head. They have the same 4-2 division record, but then it goes to conference record. And this is a non-conference matchup, so it won't change the conference record. And Hammer Vulcan is currently 6-4 with Sweet Rush at 5-5 in the conference.
Oh
So,
shit, that's close. So
yep.
they
So
could nearly
that's
win the playoff spot here, Hammer or Vulcan, because even if they win and Sweet Rush wins, which that should happen, then Hammer or Vulcan's only got to win one of two, and Sweet Rush is going to have to run the table.
Yep, exactly. Sweet Rush kind of box themselves out with that conference record.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right. Well, there we go. And on to game number 12. This one's got a little bit more playoff implications at the top of the bracket. It's Space Wars, 11-3, division leading in the ASC. Plus 15 net rating, a 0.56 median. Gates of Olympus 9-5, a plus 8 net rating, a 0.45 median. They had a really tough battle against Sloth Tumble that they lost 2-3, where Space Wars won a tough battle against Gates' stablemate Sweet Bonanza 3-2. I hate picking Space Wars. I keep wanting to see them win only because they keep winning. They did increase their high to a 3.2, which I like a little bit now. But man, what do you think? I probably have to go with Gates just because, but Space Wars is the smarter pick, I think. Where are you going on this one?
Well, the stats point to Space Wars across the board, even though it's not a massive swing. But we saw Gates of Olympus defy the odds in week 11 against Hoarders when they won 3-2. That weird median X discrepancy for the first time was revealed. Space Wars, I mean, they won last week, but we spoke about it last week. It's just a case of the perfect storm at the moment for Space Wars. Not putting them down, they're obviously exceptionally consistent. But it is the perfect storm because I think 2 of their games last week, Sweet Bonanza only had to 0.4x. That's it to win one of those 2 games, and they would have won the round, and somehow they couldn't get that done. So it's not as much the fact that Space Wars has been dropping in like 1.2s and 1.4s, and they've got to work a little bit harder. These opponents, they've dropped in some average ones. They're under 0.25 is a big one, so it's only 3% of their games. You get a quarter of the money back. And this matchup, Gates of Olympus, 27% of the time it's under a quarter. So if you do play a 4-game series, like this goes to 4 games, Space Wars, according to the odds, is going to get a guaranteed win. And that's where they're picking up a lot of their overall wins because they're getting those sort of they don't really flop much. And I feel like even when you move to the next category, which is under 0.52, I feel like they're closer to the 0.52 than like a 0.3 or a 0.4. They're right up closer. So even their bad games are sort of not bad games. Again, with all that said, I'm going to roll the Gates with Gates purely because I think a lot of people are going to go Space Wars too, as they should, because every single number or metric, whatever you want to call it, says they should win. But you know me, Gates of Olympus all the way. So unless there's a damning stat for Gates, I'll ride it into the ground.
Absolutely. And Gates is pretty safe in the playoffs. They're 2 games ahead of Wild Coyote. So they have Dragonfall and Cat Clans on the way home. So this won't make much of a difference on that side. Space Wars trying to hold on to that division lead. So I think I'm going Gates too. Just I'll watch Space Wars electrocute and rocket ship their way on to the win as I have for the last 3 weeks. Game number 13, Hoarders versus Cat Clans. This one should be a pretty easy pick 'em. Hoarders is 9-5. They've got a plus 9 net rating, a 0.89 median X, highest in the league still. Cat Clan 7-7, a -2 net rating, a 0.43 median. They are holding on in the playoff race. They really need this one. They have super mega monsters and Gates of Olympus, so just a brutal ride home for Cat Clans. But also for Hoarders, they get Cat Clans, which should be an easy win, I think. And then Kodiak Kingdom and Space Wars, no slouches. In order to secure their place, they just got back into the playoffs with the win versus Mental last week. So I think Hoarders keeps it going this week, obviously in a big matchup. Anything to make you think differently looking at the stats?
Oh no, they're going to be hot favorites. They got the best median X in the league by a mile. And the big one is games under 0.5, 60%. Cat Clans only 28% for Hoarders. They'll get the job done. That'll be pretty convincing. But they have to because they got 2 hard games in the run home in that absolutely stacked division that's going to have the last 2 weeks very interesting. So they'll win. They have to win, but I would be shocked if that one goes down. In fact, that would be the second biggest upset all season if Cat Clans pulled it off.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Game number 14, round in the final corner here. Kodiak and Super Mega Monsters, man. Super Mega Monsters. What can I say? Well, first, Kodiak 9-5, a +8 net rating, a 0.52 median. They've lost 2 in a row. They really hurt themselves in the playoffs. Super Mega Monsters, on the other hand, 5-9, 0 net rating, a massive 0.68 median. That's just been an outlier all year long. And they lost to Royal Potato last week in the biggest upset in ISL history, broke all of the stats. I think I'm going to have to go with Super Mega Monsters here again. I think that the half of their games under 0.52 that Kodiak Kingdom does is something that Super Mega Monsters can beat. And even on the big side, the games over 0.75, Super Mega Monsters still beats them by nearly 15%. So, but man, the stats have just let me down with Super Mega Monsters all year long. So could see you picking Kodiak and not batting an eye at it. Where are you headed on that?
I know I'm going to be going with Super Mega Monsters pretty happily, to be honest. Again, like you just said, stats actually point towards Super Mega Monsters. This is the not the resulted stats, but the game stats, meaning the individual scoring, which is the most important stat in my opinion. They've just been in the perfect storm of losses. Really, the Royal Potato loss is just devastating. Because we thought they could maybe run the card. Kodiak Kingdom, Cat Clan's Dragonfall to finish. We're going to be looking at the playoffs a lot next week, so I don't have it in front of me. But even if they run the card, I think they've got to have a whole bunch of results go their way for the last 3 weeks to make the playoffs. Whereas if they beat Royal Potato, I think they would have got in on winning the last 4 weeks. So this is the big matchup. As well as the Kodiak Kingdom, because they're trying to keep in touch with Space Wars. But that loss to Rise of Atlantis last week pretty much killed that chance. But I'll be going with the Monsters one more time.
Yeah, Kodiak's in that huge logjam. They're tied with Hoarders, Rich Raptors, and Mental, just ahead of Sweet Bonanza for the wild card spot over there. So they really bad time for them. They've got a tough finish coming home. Monsters, Hoarders, and Bloodsuckers. All three. Monsters a really good on paper team, and Hoarders and Bloodsuckers both fighting for division wins, or division championships. So Kodiak Kingdom really probably needs to pull this one out.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of needing to pull it out, Choco Reels versus Sweet Rush. Choco Reels, good for the bankroll so far this year, but not really on the stat sheet. They're 3-11 and -13 net rating, a 0.25 median X. They did win last week against Dr. Rock on a 3-1. Sweet Rush, on the other hand, like I said, they're out of the playoffs right now. They really need to win and catch up behind Hammer of Vulcan. They have a 7-7 record, a +1 net rating, a 0.48 median. I don't love Sweet Rush in general, but I think they win this one. I think Choco Reels kind of does its thing, falls a little bit back to earth, and Sweet Rush is consistent enough that they're, I think, going to do just fine. What do you think there?
Yeah, look, very similar to Raw Potato. It's very hard to pick Choco Reels. I think they've got, again, I don't have it in front of me. They've got, I think, the worst under 0.25 in the league at 50%. Sweet Rush, by the way, doesn't have much better at 35% of the games on there, but still quite a big differential on the median X. And this is obviously a must-win. A must win against Choco Reels, because Hammer of Vulcan, as we just talked about, has all the tiebreakers. So they're gonna need to win out Sweet Rush and have something go their way.
Absolutely. And the last one is Boom Boom Gold versus Retro Tapes. Boom Boom is 9-5. On a bit of a tear lately. They have a +13 net rating, a 0.56 median, which is very nice. Retro Tapes 1-13. It says on here, but I think they actually have 2 wins. I could be wrong. Anyways, they have a -25 net rating, a 0.25 median X. I think Retro Tapes is very typically your boom or bust game with a 17.5 high. And yet 77% of their games, you get under half the buy. I think it's a very easy Boom Boom Gold pick, probably 3-1, I would say. Either between 3-1 or a sweep. I don't think Retro Tapes gets 2 in this one. How do you see it ending here for week 15?
Yeah, look, I've got the same analysis as you. You just got to decide if Retro Tapes can steal a game or not. Boom Boom Gold has kept winning. The King Kobe loss, the big one, the big game 5 loss, gave it all the breathing room in the world. I think they lock up the division, I believe, with the win on Wednesday against Retro Tapes. I'll have to double check that later. If not, it effectively locks it up. Have to be a run of the cards by in Kobe, and then boom, boom, goal. We'll have to lose out or something like that. But this should be a comfortable win. I'm still hoping Retro Tapes has got one more big hit in it. So fingers crossed in these last 3 weeks that it can maybe give some money back. It's been one of the worst net losers, money-wise, I mean, even though it had that one blow-up in the Razor Returns win all season. Been very disappointing. At least in the ISL, it's been disappointing.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's been one of those slots that have been hot in the last month or so. So seeing that's all you gotta do. You gotta get sick. You take a week off. You come back. You run cold for a week, and then you get God mode turned on for the rest of the year. That's a fair deal, I think.
God mode's good. I like myself a bit of God mode.
Absolutely. Well, I'll let you go. I'll catch you on the stream here. Everyone, obviously, catch Systems every night whenever it is that you watch him. And ISL is going to be on Wednesday at that time. There's a massive $4,000+ 1 week bonus for anyone that can go 16-0. That's alive for anyone that can join. So be happy to come on and watch me win that. I've been saving it up so it builds up as high as it can for the end of the year.
Very
Systems,
smart, very smart.
That's what my mama said I am, so I believe her. Anyways, Systems, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. We'll catch you next week. Until then, ISL.bet and YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe. Have a good one.
Sounds good, man. Have a good one.